Welcome to Agents Growth Academy. I am your headmaster, Jim Schubert. I hope you're ready to grow big or go home. By the way, if you haven't had time to rate this podcast, I would love for you, especially if you're listening to this on iTunes or what's known as Apple Podcasts now, to go in and give it a 5-star rating. Let us know what you love about it. And that helps us spread the word about the show to get this out to more and more agents just like you. Also, if you haven't had a chance yet, go to agentsgrowthacademy.com/sales. If you're like me and you love to try to find ways to give back first before you get, and especially when it comes to sales, I've got some great tactics that you can download if you just go to agentsgrowthacademy.com/sales. Some fantastic ideas on how to give first before you get back in the sales process that are super effective. And I've learned it from people just like you that have taught me how to do these things. Folks, I am super excited today to introduce to you Torey Maerz from Rocket Referrals. He is the co-founder of Rocket Referrals with his brother Carl in 2013. Throughout his career, Torey has spent 20 plus years building software and leading technology teams in a variety of businesses across a range of industries, from education to asset management. And when you see him, you're going to go, 20 years? Really? Because he looks pretty young. Welcome to the show, Torey.
Hey, thanks for having me. I wish that I was as young maybe as I look, I guess. But yeah, I'm literally going to be hitting the big 40 here in a few weeks.
Oh
So,
man, you
yeah, I know.
you're younger than me. only by a few years though. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you looking good, my friend.
Thanks, man.
You
I'm
working
happy to
out?
be here. So, I mean, I try to. My doctor, kind of makes me, so it's important to get in there.
That's awesome. Now you're
Yeah.
coming to us from Iowa. Well, what's going on there? Did you guys get that big snowstorm that tried to rip through here and ended up going to New England?
Yeah, so actually, if you talk to the locals, there's the 801 Grand building, this big tall building downtown Des Moines, and they say that it's the, storm deflector.
Yeah.
So we literally had the storm go in and just wrap around Des Moines. I don't know how we got so lucky, but I'll take it because I'm not a fan of snow.
Yeah. We just narrowly missed it, thank goodness. And it looks like it, and by the way, we're recording this in January of 2022. So if you're wondering why we're talking about snow and you're listening to this on the beach in the summer, that's why. But
I hope you are listening to it on the beach. That'd be nice.
you might be, yeah. I loved it when I asked you before the show if this were a master class, what would you name it? And you said how to grow your agency with tools made for insurance. And I think that's going to resonate pretty darn well with our audience, who's mostly made up of insurance agents and agency owners. Um, I guess, tell me, was there like an epiphany or a pivotal moment where you realize that the tools that Rocket Referrals has that they
Yeah.
offer, that people needed that?
So, it's kind of interesting. A lot of entrepreneurs, business, people that start businesses, they have this big idea that they know that they need to bring to people, right? And
Yeah.
I have this entrepreneurial spirit that, always as a kid, I'm especially with my brother Carl, where, it's really hot in the summer. We're like, hey, let's go do the lemonade stand thing or whatever. I mean, I was breaking up geodes and selling gyms around the neighborhood, to make an
That's
extra buck.
awesome.
So I always knew that I wanted to do this, and I have throughout my entire life. But one of the problems that a lot of entrepreneurs have is they think of ideas and they see problems like way too far in the future. We're
Yeah.
thinking of solving problems that not a lot of people really have yet. And
Yeah.
so we tried other things that just they weren't taken off, because just people weren't ready for it, they might say.
Yeah.
So we took an entirely different approach with Rocket Referral. So at the time we started this company, my brother was in Afghanistan. He was literally serving in Afghanistan, and I'm
Wow.
having, phone calls with him, across the the world, and we're like, hey,
Yeah.
when you get back and you're done, let's start a company together, and we're going to do it differently this time.
Yeah.
Instead of having the big idea, let's think about how would we start a company? What are the things that, how should we come up with ideas? And so we created this process for figuring out what the idea would be. And it all started with understanding our customer. And, I come from the insurance world. And so I
Okay.
knew a lot of agents, and I wasn't an agent myself, but when I worked for a bigger, insurance company, I built software for advisors.
Got
And
it.
what we did, what Carl and I decided we would do is interview, I don't know, there's like probably 50 different insurance agents here in Des Moines, Iowa,
Yeah.
which plenty of insurance agents in any city, but there's definitely a lot in Des Moines, Iowa, a lot of carriers here. And I had some carrier relationships. And so we just started interviewing people. And the concept was, instead of having an idea ourselves, let's go find a problem that people have, and then let's build software to solve that problem. And so what we found when we're interviewing people and we're talking with them, and I would go in and ask them a lot of hard questions. I would ask them about, what's the retention look like, and how are they retaining customers, and how are they growing, and what are they doing with their leads, and what does their communication platform look like? And this was, 9, 10 years ago. So you can imagine they probably thought I was some kid coming out of college or something, doing some project. Who knows what it was? But the concept of what I said is, I want to ask you some questions. I'm putting together a report.
Yeah.
I didn't say for school, but I think they thought
They
maybe it
might
was.
have thought so.
Yeah. And so I'll share the results with you, and I'm going to share our learnings and give you some tips and tricks on
Hmm.
how to, improve stuff. And what we found is that a lot of these agencies that I spoke with, they had a ton of customers that were willing to refer them. I mean, let's think about insurance,
Hmm.
especially, what you're talking about every day and what you're educating people on is like how important communication is, and how important, customer service is, and being an advisor and taking care of people. Like warning them when rates are going to go up,
Yeah.
things like that before they happen. And that's all customer service based. And so they've spent a lifetime, learning from their family on how to run an awesome business and how to treat people right. And so they had a bunch of people willing to refer them, but the people weren't actually referring them. When you asked an agency, where are you getting most of your business, they would say, well, I get a lot of it from referrals.
Yeah.
And the reason they said they got a lot of business from referrals is because they remember that business. It closes 100% of the time, right? Is
Sure.
you get a referral in, it's going to close.
Yeah.
And but when we looked into the numbers, they were actually buying more leads than they were, from referral business. And they also had like somewhere like 60% of their customers that were, willing to refer them weren't actually doing it.
Yeah.
And so the epiphany, I know this is all getting back to
No,
the
no, it's
question.
good.
So
It's
I'm
good.
gonna get there,
You
right?
tell stories like
And
I
so
do.
when
Go way back.
I gotta get in there and kind of let you guys know where it came from. So I took this report, right? And I'm going, I'm talking, to people about the results and everything that I'm sharing with you. And I'm giving them tactics that they could use to improve their referrals and to get more business. I mean, that's the name, Rocket Referrals, right? So it's all a
Yeah.
lot of what was referrals and retention basis. But I remember talking to one agent, Brad. His name's Brad, and I'm talking to Brad, and I'm saying, hey, Brad, if you did these things, then you're going to improve referrals. Your, retention's going to go up and things like that. And
Yeah.
he's in his desk, and he goes, man, Tori, I just want to sell insurance, And at that time, I knew that if I'm going to help Brad, and if I'm going to help, because Brad was a great agent, if I'm going
Yeah.
to help bring more people to Brad as a great agent, then I've got to automate it for him, right? I've got
Yeah.
to find ways that we can automate this system. And so the epiphany was, how can we look at Brad's customer data and find key moments and times of a customer's life cycle that we can send better quality communication that's going to encourage them to refer and to build that word of mouth, and then get them to actually bring people to Brad. Then Brad doesn't have to really do much, right? Brad can kind of
Yeah.
put the data in and let the system work and run. And that was sort of the big idea. And so we then took a lot of those tactics that I had in my report and automated it and said, hey, let's build a system that's going to do this. We went back to those agents and said, hey, would you buy this system? And they said, yes, and started writing checks. And they said, this is going to be awesome. And so we used that money to fund the development of, Rocket Referrals. And the cool thing about that story is that we tested everything along the process, the way we knew that the things that we were going to do to get more customers were going to work. We knew that people were willing to pay for this system,
Mm-hmm.
and that shows us that there was value in it. And then when we had it all done and we launched it, I had my fingers crossed that it was going to do what we thought it was going to do. And I remember that day where we started to send out those first emails and things to one of our customers. I'm sitting in their office, just kind of waiting, and within like, I don't know, 30 seconds of sending that email, they start getting response from customers. And we're like, oh my God, this is amazing. This
Wow.
is actually working. It's doing what
Wow.
it's supposed to do. And they were sitting there like, I can't believe it was that simple. I'm like, well, it wasn't really that simple for us, but I'm glad that it was simple for you. And so that's kind of the epiphany and the story. And, Rocket Referrals has just been growing and adding more and more to our system over the years. We love looking at problems and solving them in a unique way, and just learning from the problems that people have and how things are changing. And it's an adventure. It's just so much fun. I love what I do.
I
it's
love
it's
that
great.
story. And I love that at the end, you're telling me that when, the reaction was, wow, that was so simple. Because I think when in anything in business, when you can make it look simple, but it's
Yeah,
actually complicated, kind of like the duck theory, the legs like churning underneath the water, but really they're just gliding along
yeah,
the surface. Like
yeah.
that's the mark of a true master. So,
Oh, I don't know.
tell me and share with our audience, like, tell us where Rocket Referrals is now. What problem or problems, because you
Yeah,
said it's tools built for insurance. What's the whole
yeah,
gamut? What are we going to get out of
yeah.
using Rocket Referrals?
Yeah. So, the what I hope people get, right, when they're using the system is they feel like everything just works really, really well together. But if you were going to buy individual services that replaced Rocket Referrals, you'd be buying web chat, text messaging, email, a handwritten card service. You'd be buying a marketing automation tool, CRM, like all of these things. And so we don't look at problems in terms of, hey, we are a CRM, or we are an email marketing platform, or we are this. We just say, we're going to help you grow your business and we're going to do everything that we can to make that happen. Right. And so when you think about, like, let's use text messaging and email, right?
Yeah.
If when you have two different systems, one for text messaging and one for email, how well are those two things working together?
Mm.
One of the neat things that we do at Rocket Referrals is we say, hey, I just sent an email to somebody. They didn't respond to it after two tries. Let me try a text message.
Yeah.
Oh, they responded to the text. Okay, I'm going to put this person on sort of the text messaging train, and I'm going to
Okay.
continue to communicate with them that way. Our customers don't need to think. That's the simple thing, right? That's such a beauty around being able to do all of these different things
Yeah,
that
because we do that
uh,
in real time, like ourselves, trying to figure out, like, okay, they didn't respond to that or that. Now I gotta, I think I have their cell
right,
phone number. Let me text them. But you
right,
you
exactly.
automated that.
We just automate it, right?
That's
It's
beautiful.
something that makes sense. That it's not, you're not going to find that on our website somewhere. That it's there. I get a lot of inspiration from products and things that I do, and I know that a lot of people get inspiration from like Apple design and things like that. But
Sure.
I remember one time, before I started Rocket Referrals, reading the story about how Steve Jobs wanted to make the white light. Now, you don't have this on new MacBooks anymore, but older MacBooks, they had a white light on the outside.
Mm.
And this was back in the day when computers had the hard drive light, like hard drive
Yeah.
access.
Yeah.
That light would like flash when the hard drive was
Yep.
being used or whatever.
Yeah.
So what Steve Jobs looked at this thing and he said, you know what? That white light's on the outside, and when the lid is shut, it's not doing anything. It doesn't really show activity. And he told his designers, I want it to feel like a human breath, right? And so he made it fade in and out like a human breath. And you don't see something like that on the Apple website that says our white light has a human breath feel to it. But when you're using the thing, it feels more natural
Yeah.
and just, kind of relaxing. And that's, those little clues, those things we try and build into our system. And that's why, people, when they use Rocket Referrals and they compare it to other things, they can't put their finger on it. They can't really quite say, why does Rocket Referrals work better than this thing over here? Or why do I feel better when I'm using it? And that's what we're trying to do. I mean, we try our best to do it. Sometimes we mess up. Sometimes we make mistakes. A lot of companies do. But I'll be the first to admit it when we make mistakes. But we try really, really hard to make it as seamless, easy to use as possible.
Yeah. So I'm an agent. I am actually still licensed, even though I haven't written business in ages now. But
Yeah.
let's just pretend
Yeah.
that I'm an agent who wants to grow my book of business, especially through referral. Um,
Yeah.
what's Rocket Referrals gonna do for me? What am I gonna be like? What tools am I gonna be using? What's it gonna do on a day-to-day
From
basis?
a referral standpoint, one of the things that we teach people to do, so one of the neat things about Rocket Referrals is that it's not just software. We have an account manager, right?
Yeah.
That when you work with us, that person's going to help you set up everything, but also help you with things that are not necessarily just software related. So,
Hmm.
for example, one of the things that we teach every single person that comes in is, and everybody can use this. Take this tip, as a listener of this show, here's bonus for you. When you all have this form, that says, how did you hear about us, right? On, on your lead form or your website or whatever.
Sure.
And people have seen that so many times that they have become blind to it. And plus,
Hmm.
that question has no benefit to them, for giving you an answer. So why would I answer that question? I obviously know you're just trying to improve your marketing or whatever. There's no
Yeah.
reason for me as a customer to answer it. So we say, take that, change it to, who was it that referred you to us? We'd like to send them a thank you. And what that does is it gives
Mm.
them a reason to answer that, right? Because now I know that the person who referred me is going to get a thank you.
Yeah.
Secondly, they think, wow, they must get a lot of referrals because they're asking me, who it was. So they're
Yeah.
assuming that it came from a referral. Thirdly, it's a question I don't hear very often, so I'm more likely to answer it. And
Yeah.
also, if I didn't come from a referral, I'm going to say, actually, I found you on Google, you know, and then on top of it, they think, wow, they think they're referral sources. This is a company that I want to do business with, right? This is a
Yeah.
person that I want to do business with. And so,
Sure.
just kind of backing up, one of the things that we do is we help people track referrals, and actually the data structure we have behind the scenes to be able to see who referred who and when and what products they have is an immense amount of, it's a very valuable piece of data because you can say, okay, if this person came from a referral from this person, now I know not only is that person likely to refer again, but they're a target for some cross sell and upsell
Mm.
campaigns, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're referring business to me, then you're also likely to buy again, right?
Right.
And so now we can take that referral information and it automatically flows into campaigns, right? You don't need to say, hey, this person referred someone, so then tag them and then put them on a list. We take care of all of that, right? So we
Yeah.
have, essentially in Rocket Referrals, you say, hey, I want to target people with this type of coverage and not this coverage. And then we kind of take it from there. We can say, well, let's put your referral sources in there and everything. People that just have one product or another is not always enough, right? So adding to that data is super important. And that kind of
I,
goes back to what I was saying before about how important it is when you have multiple services, they need to really truly be connected and working well together, right? So that's the goal that we have, is to build this interconnectedness of all of the ways that you communicate with people.
I love that. It's so appropriate for this show in particular. So I got questions. I was writing
Yeah.
some notes down while you were talking. AMS integrations, agency management
Hmm.
system. Is this something where like we've got to manually enter in data
Yeah.
into Rocket Referrals, or will it pull anything from like we use Epic, applied Epic?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's not a management system on the planet that we haven't been able to work with in one way or the other.
Cool.
I grew up as a programmer, and that's one of the coolest things about having a programmer CEO is
Yeah.
that um, you you always believe that something is technically possible, right?
Yeah.
So it's one of those where you say, "Hey, I've got this new management system, and if I've never heard of it, then I know that I can make it work." And so one of the things that I have personally been very vocal about is just data access. I truly believe that it's an agent's right to be able to use your data from a management system in any service that you have, right? And
Mm.
I chose those words, very strong words, like for a reason. Like I really truly believe that that's your data. You have the right to have your management system connected with third-party services. And I'm not just an ambassador for Rocket Referrals, only. I think that it should be able to, your data should be able to be connected with all other services, including people that would maybe traditionally even compete with us, because that's what drives innovation. I
Yeah.
know that when you put me and another company up against, building new products, I'm going to win because we're innovators and we invent and we build, and that's how innovation is really, driven. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, we work with pretty much any management system, and that has been a core thing for us. I like to tell stories. You want to hear a really cool
I would love
story?
to tell me a story,
Okay.
Torey.
Speaking of management systems, I remember when we started Rocket Referrals, we literally wrote down that data access is key, right?
Yeah.
It's super important. And it was a huge weakness in this industry. The insurance industry has this very tight knit, like
Yep.
oh, there's so much
Oh,
control around data.
yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I know what you're
And
saying, man.
we had to break down these barriers. And so my brother and I at the time just literally started. We're a company of two, right?
Yeah.
And we wrote letters to every single management. This is back in the day when you would write letters. And we chose to write letters because that's how people communicated at the time, right? They were
Yeah.
not the most high tech people.
Now it
So we're
stands
talking
out.
about, yeah, it does stand out too. And we kind of put them in this packet that was a different color and stuff
Yeah.
like that, right? And so we wrote a letter to Applied. We wrote a letter to Vertifor. We wrote one to QQ
Yeah.
Catalyst,
Yeah.
or QQ Solutions at the time when they were not there. We wrote one to every single one of them out there that we knew of, and we said, hey, this is our system. We want to integrate with you. We really believe that it would be awesome for agents. Here's some things that we've already done with people. We heard back from one of them. In fact, we had put our cell phone numbers on there, and as soon as they got the letter, they called me back. It was Mark Malis from QQ from QQ Solutions,
Yeah.
and he said, "Hey, we have this new API," and I'm like, "Oh wow, you guys actually have an API. You are
Yeah.
on
You
top
know
of
the
it. This is amazing."
language.
Yeah, right. And so, well, I said, "Send me the documentation over," and we built it in a weekend, right? So from Friday to Sunday, we had that integration with QQ Catalyst done. And we told
Wow.
Mark, and Mark's like, hey, come out to Florida with me, come to a show. And, the rest is kind of history. That's something that really springboarded, us, is just having that integration with QQ. And
Yeah.
I was actually really excited when Vertifor acquired them because um, Vertifor has a very similar approach to that as well. Vertifor has a really great API, and the ability to integrate. And so we've just been really, really happy with that. But
Yeah.
anyway, it's kind of a fun story to think that these guys are writing letters to management systems. Or back from one of them. Yeah,
When
kind of fun.
old and new forms of communication collide. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
That's
like we
awesome.
were writing letters to talk about data integration, right? Like, how
Yeah.
ironic
Yeah.
is that?
So I'm curious, we have in our agency, we have, I mean, I built like from scratch the referral, it's not software. It's just like a mechanism for us to be able to do it. It's like literally a form on our website, but,
Yeah,
it includes, an incentive for the person. It's dual. It's like, if you refer somebody, you get like a $20 gift
yeah,
card, but then we'll also make a $10 donation to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, which is one that
that's
we
important.
support.
Yeah,
But I don't, I'm wondering, like, how would that work with somebody who has something in place? And I'm
yeah.
sort of asking selfishly,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I
So, I
like,
mean, our goal would be to get more people to that form, right? So,
okay.
the whole point with Rocket Referrals is to help you with your communication in a way that's going to get people more visits to your website, give them reasons to communicate with you more, help you stay more in touch, and then also just position people as referral sources, you know? So
Yeah.
one of the things that we do is we get testimonials from customers.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you get a testimonial from someone, that's essentially them practicing their pitch. You
Yeah.
know, I remember that you know, my brother, this is a story that I've used for a long time, but it's a true story. When we were building Rocket Referrals, I was like, hey, Carl, what noise canceling headphones should I get? And he's like, oh,
Yeah.
the Bose Quiet Comfort, you know, blah, 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 or
Yeah.
whatever. And I went out to Amazon. I literally see his review there, and it's exactly what he said, right? And the point is that a testimonial is like practicing your pitch. You know,
Yeah.
it's so the more customers you get to think about what is it that they love about you, whether you publish those testimonials or not. Remember, collecting testimonials is not about getting, you know, pieces that you can put on your website, although that's nice. It's
Yeah.
about getting your customers to become a referral source, right? It's
Sure.
to get a testimonial from them, get them to rate you highly on a survey, you know, to ask about for a review. There's a lot of things that turn them into a referral source, and that's
Yeah.
what we do.
How, it's interesting with the testimonials. Is it only written testimonials that you're getting, or have y'all thought about branching out into video testimonials or?
Yeah, you know, when we first started, we tested, you know, a service that was two things. One, this was before a lot of people had high quality cameras on their phones, which
Yeah.
now they all do.
Yeah.
But back in the day, the phone cameras, especially the front facing ones where you could see yourself, were kind of crappy. And
Yeah.
so we tested a service that we would ship cameras out to people and they would record it and ship them back. And it, it became really
You love the mail,
complicated.
don't you?
And oh man, well, we send a lot of mail, by the way. We can talk about handwritten cards, but I think that you got to really understand all of the different things. You know, you
Yeah.
really have to. People don't just talk with you through email or just through text or just
Sure.
through the,
Sure.
you know, mail. To build a real solid relationship, you got to hit people on all the levels, and you
Yeah.
got to understand which one is most important for them. So
Yeah.
we really try and do that. So we have thought about video testimonials. I just have not cracked the nut on how to do it effectively and at scale. You know, I
Yeah.
think that if you got two or three or four or something like that, it'd be great. But it's sometimes a big ask. And also sometimes you get a video testimonial in that's really poor quality and it's not quite something that you would want to put on your website, want to share, but you feel obligated to do because you asked the customer for their time to do this.
Yeah.
And so you get into some weird, awkward situations. And yeah, so I don't know if I've cracked it. If you have and you have the secret to it, I'd love to hear it.
No, I haven't. And the only reason I ask, I just finished reading a fantastic book that probably like the whole world recommended to me over the last month called Building a Story Brand by Donald
Mm-hmm.
Miller. Have you read that?
Mm-hmm. I know of the book, and
Yeah.
it's funny because a lot of people when they hear about how we do things at Rocket Referrals are like, "Have you read that book? Like, what are you doing?" And, I haven't read it yet.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not the biggest book reader. I'm going to talk. I know that's one of your questions sometimes that
No,
you
it's
ask
okay.
people. So
You
yeah.
know what's funny though? Like I'm a former English teacher, and I was an English major. I taught high school English for a short period of time in Boston. But I actually have never really enjoyed reading except for business books.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
I guess I'm just a nerd, whatever. But like I started a new habit recently where I'm reading 10 pages a day. I've
Mm,
probably read like, I don't know, 6 books in the last couple months. That's like 6 more books than I've read in in the past 24 months, right? But
that's
this book
cool.
is amazing, and the reason I ask is because one of the things that the whole thing is just about like how do you frame your brand as a story in the concept that we as the agents or whatever business you're in, you're actually not the hero, you're the
Hmm.
guide. So you're Yoda. You're not Luke
Hmm.
Skywalker. You're Obi-Wan,
Hmm.
right? You're
Right.
guiding the character
Yeah.
through because you've
Yep.
been through it. You have the solution. And one of the things they talk about is guiding. If you're going to do testimonials, and it clicked for me, and I was like, ooh, video testimonials. What if you like helped guide the client through, here's like, what did it look like before you were working with us? What was the
Mm,
pivotal moment for you? What is life like now? And if you frame it like that, then they have a better story to tell. And
yeah.
then, if they're doing that on camera and you make it easy, but I know you guys aren't doing it yet, but it just something to think about. But um,
Actually, that kind of reminds me, something that we have recommended to people to do
yeah,
is, to have like this type of discussion with their customers, right? And
yeah,
to be able to publish that, especially in local communities and things like that,
hmm,
and during COVID, it's easy to find a virtual meeting that you can join
oh
and
yeah,
things like that, or to invite a customer to just do an interview like this. And,
yeah,
um, you know, talk about how their insurance is, talk about a story that they had, and
yeah.
things like that, and maybe they can publish things like that. Maybe that's the way to do it. Hey man, we're inventing new stuff here.
We
Like
are.
this
Well,
is how.
actually, you're talking about something that friend of mine, Mitch Gibson, does. He has an agency that he has a podcast locally in his county that
Boom, Mitch,
it's
you got it
it's
figured out, man.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
all about interviewing local business owners and basically, and it was kind of what I was saying at the beginning of the episode. He's one of the people in that download because it talks about
Yeah.
like give to the person first before you even
Yep.
ask, right? So
Yeah. Yep.
that's cool. Hey man, are you ready for the rapid fire section?
Let's do it. Rapid fire.
Rapid fire. Oh man, he's getting his notes. He prepared.
I got. I don't have any notes. I was
It's
trying.
okay.
I was trying to
I
remember what your questions are going to
I'm
be,
like
but go
Obi-Wan.
for it,
I
man.
will guide you
Yeah.
through this. Don't worry. All right, man. One piece of technology or software that you can't live without.
I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer, but I'm connected to my phone. I think that my email, actually, if I want to get specific,
Yeah.
it's Slack. I
Okay.
use Slack to connect with my team and to talk with people. And if you're not on Slack or Teams, or using something like that for your local team, I highly recommend it. It's so much better than just a normal text message system or
Yeah.
email, or whatever. So I don't know. Are you guys using Slack? But
Yeah,
I
we
think it's
are on our leadership team. We are. It may be something we roll out to the whole company, but we needed it for the leadership team, and it's been a
yeah,
godsend. Like, and I love that you can use it on your phone, you can get on your computer, wherever. It's all seamless, but it's
yep.
super simple and easy.
And we even have like this integration that comes from Rocket Referrals. When you get a new testimonial, it will throw a testimonial up inside our general channel. And most of the time, people are mentioning our account managers in there. And so the whole
Cool.
team's like really, happy, and, that kind of stuff is a huge morale booster. So Slack by far, I think, is, the coolest
If you want an endorphin high throughout the day, use Slack. That's what I heard.
thing. Yeah, there you
Especially
go.
if you're using Rocket Referrals.
Yep, yep.
Awesome. All right, one book that you're either reading or you've read or that you love and you want to share with folks.
So one of the things that has influenced, I'm actually going to share two, right? Because I think there's two important
Okay.
books. Like I know that I I don't, like I said, I don't read that often, but there's certain things that I love to read. I do love to learn about psychology, and I love to learn about how people make decisions and
Oh
things like
man,
that.
you
And
and
so
I
there's,
are same
oh yeah,
wavelength.
those
Yeah.
that's how those are the things that I like love to learn about. And so
Yeah.
one of the books that really kind of changed how I look at things, and a lot, even decisions I've made, and built a lot of things into Rocket Referrals, off of this, is The Psychology of Influence by Robert Cialdini. And I just think it's the most amazing book. It's relatively, I mean, it's an older book, but its philosophies and research are still sound today. Testimonials is a really good example.
Yeah.
That's in there, that talks about how a company, back in the day, they had an ad, that was essentially um, copy down. I think it was our core value, and then send it to us or something. And basically, what they were doing is they were getting people to write down the value, and I think it was. geez, it's been so long since I remember, but it was like some alcohol or something, some
Okay.
whiskey.
Yeah.
And like people had to write down the value of the whiskey and then turn it in, and then they had a drawing. But what they were doing is they were just training people on what the core value of this was, and then they
Yeah.
would tell all their friends about it, because they
That's
couldn't.
cool.
How do you differentiate, one alcohol to the other?
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
and then the other one is Loyalty 2.0 by Fred Reichheld. And that is something that is sort of the foundation for the Net Promoter Score, and I think is a super important and valuable piece of uh, you know technology or survey that you need to. Every company needs to be using NPS, and that's a core thing that we have built into our system is to automate that process. But if you're not using Rocket Referrals, find a way to do NPS. I think that is huge, especially if you can find a way to use that data to drive more business.
It's where you're asking folks, like, how willing
How
would you
likely?
be to
Yeah,
refer us to
exactly.
someone else?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what they found is that question, even though it's not directly tied to are they truly going to refer or not, it really helps speak to loyalty. Are they
Yeah.
going to stick around or
Yeah.
not? You know,
Right.
we have found ways to take that a step further and say, okay, they might have said they're willing to recommend, but are they someone who's really truly going to recommend? And the
Yeah.
cool thing about us, or our system is that we have millions of different data points. And so I can tell you based upon how people answer that question, when, like all kinds of different things, is that person really truly going to recommend or not?
Mm.
What's the difference between someone who's recommending and not? So
Yeah.
it's kind of cool.
Awesome. I love it, man. No, you're speaking my language for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Last one, I think, for the rapid fire. A story about a time when you or somebody in your company helped solve a problem for a prospect or client. This should not be a problem for you.
Yeah, we get lots of stories.
Tell us a good one.
And yeah, I talked about, I shared some stories about our company and things like that, but I wanted to share a story that it's very short, but it just speaks to how you can really use technology to create awesome emotions and make somebody feel better. And just anyway, we had an agent who's been using Rocket Referrals for quite some time. Actually, I think at the time this happened, they were maybe using us for just 2 or 3 months, but they've
Okay.
been with us forever.
Yeah.
And when they started, they said, "Hey, I don't know if I want to send out birthday cards." And by the way, one of the things we do is we have handwritten birthday cards that we can send out to people and make sure that birthday card lands on their birthday. Going back to one of the things that agents have done incorrectly with the best intentions is you're sending out birthday cards and you do it at the first of the month, the middle of the month, or the end of the month, one of
Yeah.
the three, and you are missing people's birthdays half the time or more, right? If you send them out at the end of the month, then you're sending, birthdays that were at the beginning of the month that are
Yeah.
delayed and it doesn't feel personal. And we make
Yeah.
sure that they land on their birthday. And so we were convincing them to use our service for birthday cards. And they said, okay, we're going to give it a shot. They turned it on, and um, they forwarded us then, a couple weeks later, a voicemail that one of their customers sent, and it was from an elderly lady that they had as a customer, and she said, "Thank you so much for sending me this note on my birthday. I haven't received a birthday card from family in years, and it just means so much that you were thinking of me." And I just kept thinking that, wow, this lady, it probably, changed, made her year, like
Yeah.
it's just such a cool thing. And so
Yeah.
the the agent gets all the credit for that,
Yeah.
and I love thinking about that story because kind of going back to what you're saying is that we think agents are the heroes, right? That's the thing is like we're
Yeah.
not the heroes. We want to make agents be the heroes. And so it makes me feel really good when they became the hero for that moment. And it made me feel even better to know that it changed someone's, life and made them feel good.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool to think that all of that comes back to this point when an agent was saying, "Hey, I send out these handwritten cards." how do I automate that? And
Yeah.
so Carl and I were looking for services to do it, and nobody could uh, do it the way that we thought was right. Like all of the handwriting just didn't look right. And so we literally invented this, right? We invented how to do it. We got our printers. We buy paper from the paper mill and cut it, and like everything. And all of that work kind of paid off in that moment. And I just think that is the coolest thing. So I
That's
love to
awesome.
tell that
That's
story.
awesome. And in that moment, you're building rapport, you're deepening connection, you're endearing clients to you, and it's all automated, and it looks like it's coming from them. And it doesn't. I think there are probably agents out there going, yeah, but that kind of takes away from the genuineness of it. What would you say to them?
I think that it's not about that, right? You have to remember that whether you automate, people know that you cannot, you've got thousands of clients. It would be impossible to do it. But
Yeah.
they also understand that the thought is also in you implementing systems to do it. Instead of you saying, it's too expensive, I'm not going to do it, then because it's not genuine, well, that's actually just an excuse, and quite honestly, it's a cop out. I think that people understand that it takes effort to implement these systems, and you did think about it. You
Yeah.
thought about putting the system in because it's important to you, and people understand that.
Yeah.
Like that's the
Yeah.
that's the point. And a
Yeah.
lot of it comes down to the message that you put into that card, right?
Yeah.
In that birthday card, don't say, "Oh, and call me when you're ready to start talking about life insurance." Like, do
Yeah.
not use your birthday card as a way to sell life insurance.
No.
Don't do it, because then it's not genuine.
Yeah.
So
Right.
whether you handwrite it or you automate it, when you put the poor message in there, it's going to come across wrong. So
Yeah.
the message, that the content is more important than how you deliver it sometimes.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. I got a surprise question for you. You
All
ready?
right,
All
I'm
right.
ready.
Now, if you listen to the show, you might already know what this is, but if I were to say to you, Torey, are you right now in this moment craving gourmet marshmallows and hot chocolate or soup?
Mm.
We're in winter.
Oh
You
man,
you could have either and it would be great.
okay, can I add to the marshmallows? Like, can I put like a cracker on there or something like that? Because if I could, man, there you go. The
Yes, you have to
marshmallows, the
supply the
hot
cracker,
chocolate.
but
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, then I would. Yeah, the graham cracker. Oh man, a s'more right now would be awesome. I would
All right,
totally go
man.
for a s'more.
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send you a gift for being a guest on the show from a
Oh,
company out
thanks,
of
man.
Colorado. They're called Mountain Mallow. And we just gave this to all of our employees. And I'm still getting emails from people like, oh my gosh, we finally tried the hot chocolate and the marshmallows and they're amazing. So you're going to
That's
love it.
awesome, dude.
And also for those listening, if y'all want to get 15% off a purchase for yourself from Mountain Mallow, just go to Mountain Mallow, spelled like marshmallow, Mallow, mountainmallow.com/grow big. And you get 15% off of a purchase for marshmallows, hot chocolate. And they're gourmet. It's like they are delicious. So I'm super
Awesome.
excited. You're going to love it.
Cool, dude.
So I'll get your address off mic when we finish the show. But Torey, I'm super excited that you came on and shared all this. I mean, I think there's so many things that agents can take away from today's show about being able to build connections, get referrals, and do it all using tools that they don't really have to lift a finger once they get stuff set up. So when people are itching to connect with you, how can they find more out about you? How do they connect with you?
Yeah, best way is the website, right? Rocketreferrals.com. I would recommend hitting a demo and talking with somebody. I think that one of the neat things I hope people get out of talking with somebody here is that we are not here to just sell more. That is
Yeah.
not in our blood. We are here to make sure that we're providing the best service, and solution for you. And I'm not just saying that to say it, because I think that that's might be what you want to hear. I'm saying it because, I mean, here's the strategy. if I sell something to someone that it's not right for, then you're just going to talk bad about it, right?
Right.
I want to sell things to the right people. So a lot of times, when people come to Rocket Referrals and they, we listen to their situation, we say, you know what, you might be better off trying this thing first or
Sure.
doing this.
Yeah.
And that's just part of our strategy, is making sure that we have the right customers. And that's why when you look at, our reviews and you talk to anybody who knows anything about us, even if they were a customer and then they leave because something changes or whatever, they will love us. A lot of times they come back, by the way.
That's awesome, man. Cool. Well, hey, it's been a pleasure having you today. Stick around. We'll talk after the show. But Torey, thanks for being on Agents Growth Academy today. And for everybody out there, it's time to grow big or go home.